And looks like we are live. Welcome, Julia, to to our Success Mastermind. John Lavenia here with you, sitting in for Adrian Garner, who's feeling under the weather, and I wishing him well. Hey, Daisy, welcome. We had a couple of awesome sessions yesterday. I don't know how many of you tuned in or perhaps caught the replays, but my goodness, we had our e-commerce work group with Emma and Neil. And then, of course, we also had our book study, the conclusion of Working with the Law, which has turned into an interesting conversation with, now that we've opened it up and we got a few people who, some of which have decided to actually, join the mastermind group and tune into other aspects besides the book study groups. I think that was a good move, but just how we're applying some of these principles into daily life. We don't do a whole lot of actual reading from the book. Hopefully everyone read it before we get there. But people seeing how this is actually working in their lives is really, really neat, which of course is what this whole group is about, right? I think you all know that. I'm preaching to the choir. This is all about applied philosophy, not just sitting around being theoretical, but actually putting this stuff to use. Our next book, starting now, is Wake Up and Live by Dorothea Brand. You can all catch a free copy of this if you don't already have one. It is out of copyright, so I'm able to post a link right there into the members site. And if you go into the members site, let me pull that up now just to make sure everybody knows where to go. You log in, and then once you're logged in, if you go look at what's on the menu, live sessions on the menu, book study group, right? Click here for our current book. You can also find it under resources, books, and it's the newest one here. There it is. You can download the PDF right there. Look at all these books we've been through. Wow, wow, wow. Do you know that just by being in this group and participating, like if you participated like 20% of the time with like the book study, for example, which is just one thing that we do, that you have already participated in your own personal development more than like 90-something% of the people walking around sucking air on this planet. Like that is, I think, profound. And how do we get there? I guess this will be our topic for today, since I didn't have one prepared. How do we get there? We got there through consistency. So you can own this for yourself or not, or maybe this is a little prod. It's like, hey, consistency. One of the things that I talk with clients about every day, because I meet new clients every day, and one of my posts is to work with clients in the online business space and all that. And one of the things that I tell them to do, as just a little tip, this is one of the first things that I teach people to do, besides the daily method of operation, which I also teach people to do, and hopefully they do, and some do. But one of the things I talk about is consistency. In fact, one of the books, I think pretty much everyone here has read The Power of Consistency. It's one of the books that were on our list. The whole idea that we could make tremendous progress in some area or multiple areas of life seems a bit foreign to people. Just as we were going through Working with the Law with Raymond Hollywell, one of the things he talked about was how people will sometimes assume that, reaching these great heights of success is not really possible for me. There's these special people over there and they do good stuff, but it's just my lot in life. It's just the cross that I bear. Victim mentality. In other words, effect rather than cause. We're going to be getting into this, by the way, with Dorothea Brand. There's lots of rewards apparently for being a victim. And she reminds us of those in the first 4 chapters of this book that we're starting to read now. But the idea that we can make big strides in life seems foreign to a lot of people because, we a lot of cases, we worship comfort and familiarity, even if it sucks, right? We worship familiarity because it's familiar. Fear of the unknown stops a lot of people, right? What will happen to me? What will I become? What will they think if I really change my life? If I really do something profound? If I make a spectacle of myself? And I've wrestled with this. it wasn't, I wasn't born as the Godzilla of personal development, right? I mean, this is something that I evolved into, but it was a deliberate evolution. And it was one that, when I look at various areas of my life and how different they are than a few years or a few decades ago, right? That was something I had to not only choose, but I also had to expect could happen. Now, because I saw a light at the end of the tunnel, because other people had demonstrated to me that yes, there's a better way to live or to do business or to have relationships or to, I mean, that's one right there. You could have asked me, 20 years ago, would you ever be married or have children or whatever? You got to be kidding me. I had no examples in my life of like working relationships and people that get married and like stay married and stuff. I had no examples of it. And yet here I am. That seemed like really, really out there to me because I didn't have examples. I didn't have evidence of that. And I'm sure I've heard of other people who were like happily married and, raised families and stuff. But I had to, in some cases, like in that example, in that field of living this, right? I had to seek other examples that were not obvious to me at the time. And because I guess I started with like a bit of hope, right? So this could actually work. This whole, in this case, relationships, the institution of marriage and stuff like that. All right, I suppose that could work. Could it work for me? And when I started to buy into that idea that it could work for me, I started to develop an expectation. Maybe I can go further down this road. Maybe I can have what I would quantify as an exponentially better result than those other examples that I got, in my youth. Same with business, same with fitness, right? And health. Same with, I guess in this case, parenting could be a separate, subgenre of, relationships and family and all that. Same with groups and society and being a productive member of it. In fact, being a contributor to the community. Same with on a broader sense, right? What is my, what effect could I have in the human race, right? I mean, it sounds pretty huge, but look, other people have had a big effect on the human race, right? We just read this book, Working with the Law, cited this guy Jesus a lot, right? Jesus said this, Jesus said that. Here's what he did, right? The guy had an effect, a profound effect. All right, so why is it that we often disqualify ourselves from being that profound, right? Or that effective? Quoting Jesus, he said, you can do all these and even greater things. Okay, why don't we believe him? Why don't I believe him? As based on my demonstration, right? Yeah, I'm getting exponentially better results in certain areas of my life, but is that it? Well, John, you tell me if that's it. And so looking at areas where I have excelled, I have, yes, exponentially better results, but I've also I still have limits on that. I still have, here's the governor, or here's the ceiling, or the, the assumption, right? That's reasonable. That's where I could take that. And because of my own throttle on that, my own assumptive or presumptuous, limits that I have bought into, just like I bought into the possibility of expansion, I also bought into the possibility of limitation. Okay, because I bought that deal, I now recognize opportunities to get me that far, but not further. And I cannot see opportunities to go beyond that. So what's the answer? And what does this mean as far as consistency? Here's this guy, Weldon Long, who wrote this book, The Power of Consistency. After being in prison for 13 years, 7 of which he had some spiritual awakening, and he just kind of sat there for 7 years meditating on, who keeps showing up at the scene of the crime, who's responsible for this, what could I do differently? Are there reasons to do differently? Am I truly just a victim? Is it truly everybody else's fault? Or let me actually look and see what is behind the cause for all of this strife I've had in my life. And he looked in the mirror, right? And he recognized a couple of principles, more resourceful things. He got a lot of this from Steve Covey, another book we've read, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He looked and he got what? Principles of effectiveness, and decided to become consistent with them, even in the environment in which he had not just presumptuous limitations, but actual limitations in terms of his own ability to reach and to, the liberty to leave that building, for example. You cannot leave this building, right? You are a prisoner, criminal, convict. And so, but even with those circumstances, and perhaps in part because of I mean, think of it like this. You got 7 years to go and think on something. How good do you think you're going to be? You're probably going to make some progress, right? There's nothing else impinging upon you. You get to be very purposeful, right? Very focused. Almost sounds like a sales pitch for going to prison, right? But no, I mean, you can go in and out of prison and make no progress at all. This was deliberate. This was a choice. But what did he bring it all down to? He brought it all down to consistency. These principles are fine. We can read the books and we can have an aha moment. Oh, I just cognited that, this would be a better thing to do. Okay, well, that's nice. I'm glad you got the intellectual understanding of that. But having the right answers it's kind of the booby prize, right? Having the result. Well, now we're talking, right? And so what does it take to get the result? What does it take to get to these exponential increases in our own profitability, our relationships, our health, or whatever? It takes consistency. We could see this so obviously when it comes to something like farming, right? So here's something objective we can look at. You don't just show up and be the farmer on a, because you got inspired one day and you're thinking, yeah, hell yeah, I'm going to do the farming thing. And then a week later you get distracted. No, it's consistency. And then the bounty is bountiful and running over and all that. Consistency, working with the law. Fitness, right? You don't show up at the gym and say, you know what, I saw a Richard Simmons video, so I got inspired. Anybody remember Richard Simmons? That guy, yeah. I saw a Richard Simmons video, and damn it, I'm gonna get off my butt and I'm gonna do something. And then a week later, you're out, right? You lose. Intellectually, you've got the data. You've got how to do the jumping jacks or whatever he was doing, right? The dancing fitness or something. By the way, that's not the routine. That's not the routine that I do, just in case you're wondering. That's not my routine. This morning it was weightlifting, so pump and iron, and tonight it'll be Krav Maga, kicking ass, right? So, but Dancing with the Stars or whatever is not in my repertoire. Maybe it should be. I don't know. Not a slight to Richard Simmons. But the point is, the intellectualizing about it doesn't bear fruit. The consistent application of that. Now, the other good news about this is that if you've been very inconsistent up to this point with whatever you've been attempting to improve at, the changes are rapid and obvious. When I first started lifting weights, I'd go to the gym. I was a skinny kid, could never get past 140 pounds, ribs sticking out and all that. And I put on 15 pounds of muscle in 90 days, like that. Okay, so that was major contrast. But now after 90 days, 6 months, the honeymoon's over, right? Now you want to put on one more pound and a half, right? I'm talking about, getting bigger and stronger, right? This is a bit more work, right? It's not just your body's not in shock anymore. And so you can just show up and, it's going to work no matter what. Well, yeah, it's still going to work when you show up, but there's a couple other things you got to keep in mind as you remain consistent. Okay. And that is the same principles that got you this far in terms of these great increases that you saw at the outset, because you were all the way down here. Your stats were terrible, right? So now look at this jump in statistics. Wow, that's amazing. Okay. But now to keep that moving, we have to apply, we have to consider that we're in a different condition. We've been conditioned and now we are more proficient at this level, but to get to the higher levels, there's, I don't want to say a point of diminishing returns, but there's a level of commitment and consistency beyond the honeymoon, right? There's a level of that resolve. Yes, resolve that must be irrevocable. even though we can't see the needle on the scale moving, we've been blessed with those immediate results, which is nice. And in business, some people could call this beginner's luck, right? Or in relationships, we could say, there's the elation, my relationship with, my spouse, let's say, that's working beautifully. We never argue and all that. Okay, well, beyond that, beyond the honeymoon, we've got to be able to apply the same principles as consistently as we did before when it was easy. I think it was Henry Ford who said, integrity means doing the right thing when no one's looking. So if we are, and we may not be looking either, right? We may not be able to see the needle on the scale move. Okay. But with our inner eye of understanding, we've got to hold to principle consistently. And then guess what's going to happen? Time goes by. And yes, now we can look and we see that needle definitely move. So those little incremental improvements lead to exponential increase, but only if we're consistent. If not, well, again, I'll use a gym reference. I used to work out with this guy, Maurice, and he was from Colombia. And he said, the minute you start making excuses, you stop making progress. Well, I got the other thing. I can't show up today. Okay. Okay. If you say it's okay. Not okay. Not in my book. Not okay. Right. So I'm thinking right now, what is it that we could be consistent at? I know this is a very basic topic, and sending good energy to our friend Adrian over there in the Cayman Islands. He's getting well. But what is it that we could be more consistent with? And I would argue that if it's not on our calendar, it doesn't exist. Just before we went live here, Julia got to witness me booking a veterinary appointment and having to reschedule a client on my calendar for another time because I got to get the dog to the vet. And I had to put that on my calendar before we went live, because if it's not on my calendar, it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. That's just for me. I've become reliant on having order, not only in my mind, but that's how I create order is I have references that I can look at. This happens then, that happens then, right? Otherwise, total freaking chaos. Try being consistent without order. So there's the thing. And I don't think Weldon Long touched on this enough in the book, but all of this is based on having an orderly state in our mind, on our calendar, in our life. I am consistent when I already know what to do. If I don't know what to do, in this case, the calendar is going to remind me what to do at this time and at that time. But if I don't know what to do, I have not yet made a decision. And I know that consistency and indecision do not go together. They are way apart, way, way, way apart, right? So because I've already made decisions on simple little things like go to the gym, talk to the client, host a session, do all this, because I've already made those decisions, I can put on the different hat at a moment's notice. I already know what to do. I'm competent in that area. I'm decided in that area. I know what to do. So I don't have to sit here wondering what to do. And that decisiveness allows what? Allows consistency. And that consistency can turn into what? A habit, right? So those are decisions pre-made. I don't have to think about them anymore. They just happen. And it's really fast, really fast. And so the ability to execute, to get more done in less time and all of that comes from decisiveness. Decisiveness is demonstrated with what we consistently do and what shows up on our calendar and what shows up as a habit. While I was in the gym today, or as I was about to walk out to the gym, I got the text from Adrian. Hey, can you handle this session? And I'm thinking, yeah, right. I'm on it. Now others here, let's say you're working your post, your job, your business, whatever, and let's say you've got an employee who calls out sick, right? Do you know what to do to handle that situation? Sure, you do, because you hired that employee, and now because they're not going to be able to amend their post, right? Which is good leverage for you, but now you just get a little bit less leverage that day. and now you can go ahead and handle what needs to be handled or defer it to the following day or whatever you have to do. You know how to handle stuff. You know how to handle stuff. And if it wasn't for that, well, then, then you're just stopped, right? Well, now what do we do? That's a crappy position to be in. What do I do? What do I do? So, and maybe this is instructive as well, if you've been dependent on people who are less than reliable, right? Maybe you need to get some new people on post, right? So talking now to entrepreneurs, to business owners, which is a lot of people here. We've got to not only be consistent ourselves, but we've got to then be able to expect, and rightfully expect, that same consistency from other people. And look, people have, right now, I could speak about current times. A lot of people are no longer in the post that they were before. They've been displaced by COVID or whatever, right? So insert reasons here. But a lot of people who have a good work ethic and they're showing up and everything else, they're just looking for opportunity. I can tell you, I'm in the opportunity space all the time, and hands are raised. Like, can somebody show me how to make money online, make money from home, do something about these circumstances? I'd love to be consistent, but at what? Can you show up? And I'm not saying that everyone here is in the business opportunity space. Some of you are, okay, but can you show up as a person with answers? And is that easily demonstrable because you yourself have demonstrated answers? In other words, your stats are good. And so now others can look and say, oh, wow, Lindsay, she knows stuff. I need to know stuff. Let me call Lindsay, right? Let me find out, Virginia, she's got some skills over here with this. Her life seems to be working. Let me find out what she knows. Right? Can you be the purveyor of opportunity for others? Well, if you've been consistently demonstrating that opportunity works in your life, sure. Let me just park on that here for just a minute. We're pretty far afield of the original topic, whatever it was, which I had that much time to figure out. It's all Julia's fault, by the way. But I wasn't Julia. But think about this: the consistency. Here's where I'm going with this. When I became a top earner in like the business opportunity space, people were asking me for my secrets and, how did I become, so successful and whatever. And I said, well, I've just been more consistent than anybody else up to this point. It's the basics. I'm just really consistent. And I suppose if somebody else was more consistent than me, then they could go be the top earner. But right now I'm it. And so there it is. It's the same data. It's the same stuff. Okay. I just made a decision, and I've done that so consistently and so habitually that now I do this for fun. There's nothing to it. And so my point is, let's say you are looking to enlighten others in some way. We're talking sales here, right? We're talking about selling an idea, a concept, an opportunity, a product, a service. Let's say you are looking to enlighten others, because all sales is a process of enlightenment. Okay. You yourself must be enlightened. You yourself must have fruit on the tree. The only reason any sane person anyway would follow you is because you're going somewhere. Can you demonstrate that you're going somewhere? And so when let's say I am in a conversation with a potential business partner, client, someone who has raised their hand and says, hey, I'm looking for an opportunity. I'm looking for a better way. Can you show me your way? Right? The second they get me on the phone or on Zoom or whatever the mechanism is, the moment they've got me on, they know who they're talking to. Not because of the words. I didn't even have time to get the words out, but because of the posture, because of the relaxed confidence, because of the conviction, the knowingness, the certainty. I know where I'm going. In fact, everybody who's walking this path with me, we're winning. I hope for your sake you want to win too, but I'm not attached to whether or not you do. And right there, that posture, which comes out of, that is the fruit of consistency. That is the fruit of knowingness. That is the fruit of, I already am sold. I know for myself. Now I can transfer that to other people, and there's less Q&A. There's less skepticism. Hopefully for their sake, right? They want to get consistent with some stuff that's actually working and workable in their lives. And I'm happy to help. But I'm not in the convincing business. So kind of park on that, if you will. Where in your life, in your profession, and whatever you're doing, has it been a forced thing? Like you've got to convince yourself to show up, or you've got to convince somebody else that this is good and right, or you've got to in some way force solutions on problems. So, and the corollary to that is, where have you been inconsistent? Where have you not sold yourself? Because look, if I'm sold, I'm consistent. I already know that, showing up in the gym every day, it works. It bears fruit, right? That's good stuff. Case closed. No Q&A, no debate. Case closed. Now it's not a forced kind of a thing. John, would you like to do resourceful actions, or would you like to sit there and, clearly, knowingly violate what you already know works? I've been talking 25 minutes. I hope some of this is making sense for some of you. This is just what's going through my mind as I'm looking at, all the stuff that I just had to move on my calendar to get the friggin' dog to the vet, who has a urinary tract infection or something. But I love you guys, and I hope you got some food for action here. Julia, if you got some thoughts, thanks for letting me lean on you a little bit here this morning.
You can lean on me anytime, right. John. Whether I have any productive thoughts is another question. You started out with consistency, and that can be a tough one. It's not for lack of intention. It's just, as you know, things get really busy. You have to take the dog to the vet, or you have to do this, or you have to do that. But as long as we're consistently plugging away at the things that we say are the important things for us, then we'll make progress. And, I just injured both my thumbs consistently plugging away on my puzzles.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Well, there was a lot, I had to replace a lot of posters. And so I've been taking boxes apart and putting things in and all that stuff. And I strained both my thumbs. So now I can consistently sit here and not go work on boxes of puzzles, I guess. Start working on something different. But anyway.
Well, maybe it's time for you to hire a puzzle boxing person.
Oh, hey, it's therapeutic for me. I'm standing there thinking, and I like being inside my head and that stuff. It's just repetitive work that allows me to think about things. So, and I have a volunteer helping me.
Okay.
But anyway, I'm off topic. I realize about my poor miserable thumbs. I'm whinging, as the Brits say, right?
Right. Well, that makes me think about, if it's therapeutic for you to do that action, right, and you enjoy doing that action, then okay, maybe come up with some machinery or something to help you save your thumbs.
I'm almost done.
Yeah, you know what, Julia, there are people, teenagers typically, who have a thumb workout all the time with their video games, right? I'm wondering if maybe you, by default, are now a video game master simply because of your thumb actions.
Well, the problem is it goes this way.
Oh, okay.
To hurt, not this way. But we're almost done with that. I'm just preparing for my next batch of puzzles to come, because we have more puzzles coming. So I will get back to consistently going on the road and selling puzzles soon as well.
Beautiful. Well, people got time for puzzles. A lot of them do. So that's good. Yeah. Toozle puzzles, ladies and gentlemen. Everyone needs a Toozle puzzle in their house. TOOZ, 1 Z or 2?
TOOZLE.toys.
There you go. TOOZLE.toys. And that Z means Z for those of you outside the United States. We say Z. The rest of the world says Z, or part of the world. I don't know. Figure it out. Who else? Thank you, Julia. Who else has a comment on all this? Mandy says, go for it, Julia. Any other thoughts on consistency, decisiveness, right living, doing what you know is right, and doing it consistently to the point where you are the puzzle master? Edward Mosley. Hello, sir.
Yes, sir. How you doing?
Good.
From what you're saying, there's no such thing as a sales slump. It's a lack of commitment, lack of consistency, lack of vision. It's just a lack of wanting to do it. And just like you said, when someone calls you and they have no doubt that you're convinced that you are absolutely the answer, you're the solution. and it comes across and speaks volumes. And to cultivate that within each one of us is the purpose. It is why we keep showing up, because we want to get around that fire and hopefully get burned.
Get warm anyway.
Yeah, because like you said, the transfer of enthusiasm, transfer of wisdom and knowledge and action and all that sort of thing. I mean, it's one thing to be at 12 o'clock in a general session and going, yeah, okay, great. And then as soon as you hang up, it becomes wet bath,
Mm-hmm.
and you gotta fight that. You got to keep going back to your notes and keep realizing that, hey, you got this information, use it, and then when you have the challenge that you are gonna have, all of us have it, you can go back to the notes and say, this is just like him telling me this at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's so important to document what it is that you're talking about and try to, get information. I mean, like you said something just a minute ago. What did you say? It was so good. Irrevocable resolve.
Mm-hmm.
That's cold-blooded. That's cold-blooded, man. That's cold-blooded. It is. And it just speaks volumes about who you are. Irrevocable resolve. I've never even thought about that. I thought I was determined or I'm consistent or concentrated but irrevocable resolve. That's great.
Wow. Sign me up, damn it. I mean, you can just post that on your wall.
Yeah.
Irrevocable resolve. Like, that's the whole affirmation, man. That's it. I never know what's going to come out of my mouth until I hear it. So thank you, brother. So glad you're here. All right. Anybody else today before we go demonstrate irrevocable resolve in our lives? All right. I love you guys. I see you, Mandy. You're out in nature. You look awesome. All right. I see there's Lindsay and Virginia. Robin's here. Edward, Suzanne, Daisy. So good to see you all. Let's go ahead and wrap up. I've got to go run to another thing now, and I'm sure Adrian's going to be fine. Anybody wants to reach out to Adrian, he's on Skype, and I'm sure he'll be fine. Just probably has the sniffles or whatever. So I'll see you guys real soon. What do we have on the calendar today? If anything else today, we do have. Yes, we do, guys. Corporate Curios with Ivier Barnabas. That's happening at 5 p.m. Eastern U.S. time. Ivier shares stories from her corporate experience, which is vast, and her ascent into leadership positions and getting promotions and all this has not come without a whole lot of drama and observations, right? So she's been able to observe different scenarios and offer perspectives on that, having gotten through them. So I would urge you, if you're free at 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, tune in with Ivier because it's going to be always insightful with her. I'll have a dog at the vet at that time. So don't think that the reason you don't see me there live is because I'm, aloof or something to the message. No. Now, if you can't be there live, of course, we record everything and it's in the members site. Again, I love you guys. Thank you for being here. I will see you all again real soon.